and welcome back to Creative Thinkers. My name is Miguel Valenzuela. As always, we bring you interesting individuals to interview and talk to. Today we have a very special guest. His name is Joe Ferguson, and he is from the Small Business Development Center here at EPCC. Welcome, Joe. How are you?
Thanks, Miguel. I appreciate you asking me to be here today.
Yeah, we're going to have a super interesting conversation because we're actually going to start by asking you questions about how you came about being this individual that you are, because you're the director, or what exactly do you do there?
Yes, my title is director. And excuse me for the scratchy throat today.
No worries,
Hopefully
no worries.
We'll get through that and it'll get better as we continue to talk. That's not where I started. I started here at EPCC as a business advisor. Then, as fate had it, I had the opportunity to move up, become the associate director, and eventually the director. So I've been director of the center since 2013. It's the best job I've ever had.
Very cool.
I can honestly say that.
One of the things that we had spoken about before is just what exactly you guys do. So if I am thinking of opening up a business, I come to you and ask for advice or direction?
That's normally the case. We have roughly 70% of the 650 people that walk in our door every year are looking to start a business.
All right.
And some of them have a pretty clear path of what they want to do. Others are pretty confused about what it is.
Right. What kind of confusion do they run into?
Well, we get them anywhere from what should I do?
Like type of business.
Type of business,
wow.
Which we typically don't try to touch because we don't know what is really best for them.
And they have to have a passion about it, right?
Passion is such a key word. Niche is such a key word. So basically when they walk in the room, we set them up to work one-on-one with a business advisor, and probably some of the first words out of that business advisor's mouth is, what brings you here today?
Right.
What can I do for you? And they're going to say, well, I want to start a business, but I really don't know where to begin. I need some help. I don't know where to register my business. I don't know how much financing I may need, or if I have enough money on my own. I don't know anything about marketing. I just need help all the way through the process. And so we'll first assess their idea. And I'll give you an example. Let's say an individual walks in the door and they want to start a Mexican restaurant in El Paso. As we all know,
which are delicious.
They're delicious, but highly competitive.
That's true.
And they say, well, and I'll ask them, well, what is it that makes you different than the 5 we have down the street here?
Right.
And they'll come up with some sort of an answer for me. But I'm really looking for what makes you different, because different makes an individual successful. I like people that are different. I like niche ideas. And I always ask, well, what kind of pain are you going to solve by starting this Mexican restaurant? And they'll look kind of with a confused look at me. What do you mean by pain?
Right, I'm asking the same thing.
Well, I have money in my pocket, and you're going to be starting this business, and you're going to be asking me to spend my money with you as opposed to some other restaurant down the street.
Oh, okay.
And so I try to walk them through that is, what exactly are you trying to do, and how are you going to do it, and who are you going to try to sell to?
Right.
You know, I hate people that come in that say, I'm going to sell to everybody. Well, you know, Walmart can't.
Demographics are completely different across the board.
Very different. And so we talk about that. We talk about, let's narrow that target market down to truly what it is and who it is that you think you can sell to, and how are you going to reach those people. So we'll go through a whole litany of things and ask them a lot of different questions.
Right.
Let them talk a little bit about themselves. Same like you asked me, well, what brought you here? Why do you want to go into business? What is the driving force behind that?
Yeah, because it's not an easy thing. You know, I actually owned several businesses before, and it's the, I guess, kickstart that is the most difficult.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the most difficult aspect of it. You really have to have that drive and that know how to keep going, because there will be so many walls that you run into that'll make you say, maybe this isn't the thing for me, but you really have to keep going. But one of the things that you mentioned earlier was how are you going to be different? And of course, our show is called Creative Thinkers. What is it about those, I guess, individualistic elements within each restaurant, for example, that make it that thing and make it successful? Because I think there are people that are watching us right now that would like to get some kind of idea of, how can I be more creative about what I'm doing? Like, what's the difference between a $2 burrito and a $10 burrito, and how am I going to market to the people that want a $10 burrito as opposed to the people that want a $2 burrito, right? What have you noticed dealing with so many people?
I think from my own standpoint, and what I try to preach quite often is, one, you want consistency in your product or service. You never want to let your customer down, because you have one shot when that customer comes in and asks for your service or product to please that customer. If you please them, they'll come back. If you don't, they're going to go someplace else. So we talk about being consistent, developing a solid marketing plan, not just going out and nailing your shingle to your door and saying, I'm open for business, here I am, and nobody shows up.
Right.
You've got to promote yourself. You've got to promote your service. Everybody says, I'm going to have the best service.
Right.
But
it's not always the case.
Very few can deliver. And so we'll ask questions like, well, what do you mean by best service? What kind of service are you going to do that this other place can't do? And I think if they really dig deep and look at the details of everything that business is going to attempt to do, they can possibly come up with a very good solution to that person's pain to get them to spend their own money. If they can't, we may actually advise them, you need to spend some more time before you jump into this, because it's highly risky, and I don't think you want to lose your money.
Well, I think nobody does, right?
Exactly.
How is it that people, sorry to interrupt you, how is it that people incorporate this concept of new ideas, thinking outside the box, into what they do? I mean, obviously, if we drive around here in the city of El Paso, we can find thousands of Mexican restaurants. Since we're on that subject,
yes.
How does one come up with these new ideas? Is there something that helps them come up with these new ideas, or are they simply just saying, hey, you know what, I've had that burrito and that's not for me, I think I can make a better one? What have you seen?
I would agree with everything you just said. People come in for different reasons. They come in, I had one person come in I'll never forget, and she wanted to start a child daycare center because she hated her boss and wanted to do something where she could be self-employed.
Right.
So self-employment drives a lot of people through our doors. There's also those individuals that are truly creative, that have great ideas, and they don't know where to start with that idea. They need some assistance to commercialize an idea, as opposed to not knowing where to go. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people that have great ideas, but some are inventors, and that's all they want to do. They're happy inventing. They don't want to go through the hassle of having employees, worrying about payroll,
bringing their
human
product
resources.
into production.
Yes, bringing it into production. They want to invent. They want somebody else to take that. So we'll work out scenarios where that could happen for them.
Wow.
Such as, well, maybe you can license your idea and get money from the licensing coming back to you, as opposed to you having to handle all the headaches of owning a business.
So it's not just like a cut and dry thing. Somebody comes in, I want to open a business. You also help other entrepreneurs in doing different things.
Yes. And
that's really cool.
You know, owning a business is, or can be, very complicated. It just depends on the industry that you're in. But for the most part, some of the things that we find, many of the small business owners don't truly understand the legal aspects that you have to conform to with in terms of human resources.
Right.
They don't have a good understanding of their financial statements and what they need to do to maximize their business and make more money in their business. how to do the best job they can pleasing their employees, what legal aspects they have to be concerned with.
Right.
It's just on and on and on. And if they make those mistakes too often, they'll be out of business very, very quickly. And as we all know, small businesses are very risky.
Oh, absolutely.
Out of, say, 10 small businesses that start up, six will be out of business within 5 years.
Really?
And
it's that high?
Nine will be out of business within 10 to 12 years.
So only one will make it in the long run.
In the long run.
Wow.
And today, if you look at the corporations that were successful, say the Fortune 500 corporations back in the 1950s, over half of those aren't in business today.
Really?
And that to me is just amazing. You've got big corporations with a lot of, or access, I should say, to a lot of tools to be successful. And for whatever the reason, they could not survive. Maybe they weren't flexible enough. They didn't pivot at the right times, make the right management decisions.
Sears, I think, is a good example.
Very
of that.
good example.
I mean, that's probably one of the biggest companies in the United States. And I think they're down to one store.
I think you're right.
Yeah, one store. So then what does it take to be successful? Is it these new ideas that make it successful, or is it a combination of how to work around all of these ideas that you have?
Well, I remember a chairman of the board told me something one time. I was a young engineer in this company, and I asked him straight out, I said, what made you successful in this business that you're in, and how did you get where you are today? And he said, I hired the right brains. He says, I personally don't know everything.
Yeah.
And when I see talent, I hire that talent. Well, as we know, a lot of small businesses, they're mom and pop businesses.
Right.
They can't afford to hire a human resource manager, their own in-house accountant.
Right.
So they've got to worry about other things. They can go ahead and farm that out financially if they can. But you mentioned earlier when we were talking about passion, you must have passion.
Right.
You cannot be a quitter.
Yeah.
You've got to see it through, and you have to stay creative. You got to be innovative and always looking for new ideas to take what you currently have that might be successful and make it more successful by implementing this new idea.
That's beautiful. One of the other things that I see a lot of people talk about, even my students, they're like, wow, how can I open up a business? I got these ideas, but how do I bring them to fruition? One of the things that I see a lot is that they themselves create these barriers. My mom says that I can't do it, so I'm not going to do it. What kind of advice can you give our public to get a better grasp of how they can move forward with these ideas that they have?
A lot of people I've talked to have great ideas, and they're exactly like you described them. They're afraid of failure. And I always tell people, I don't think you want to go through life with having regrets that you didn't do something that you kept saying to yourself, I know I can do this. I know I can be successful. The best advice I would give them is come see us, talk to us, let us be your mentor, and we'll see what we can do. And I like taking things, as they recall, baby steps, taking it little by little. Start your business out of your garage if you can. Do little inexpensive things to step by step grow your business. Don't go crazy and put a lot of money into it at the very beginning. Start hiring people. Locate in some fancy building when
spend all your money
from
the beginning. Right.
That's right. And then all of a sudden you realize I wasn't successful in what I did because I made a lot of mistakes along the way. So I truly believe in starting slowly and getting educated about what you're getting into before you make that big investment.
So having all this knowledge now, I actually want to go back in history a little bit and talk to you about how you grew up. How did you become this individual that has these ideas, that thinks outside the box and says, hey, you know what? I think now instead of working somewhere, I'm going to go and become part of this business. What influenced you? What inspired you? Who inspired you?
I think in my own personal case, and I've talked to others that were similar to me, it goes back even to childhood.
How?
And for example, I was unfortunate to have my father pass away when I was 12 years old.
May he rest in peace.
So I saw the difficulties my mother was going through trying to raise 4 boys. But
was that part of the inspiration?
that was definitely part of it, although I didn't know that at the time. And what I mean by that is I knew I had to take on additional responsibilities in the household to support the family and support my mother, which I did. And I always looked for any kind of job where I could make a little extra money.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it didn't matter. Could be out doing yard work for somebody, something as simple as going across the street to help the old woman put a water bottle in her dispenser and get 10 cents for that or something.
Right.
And then in college, I did take a leadership role in the college fraternity I was in as the president. And I thought to myself, I kind of like this. I kind of like being in a position where I can actually make some decisions. When I eventually went into the working world, I got the chance very early at 24 years of age, I should say. I was a manager of training and developing people in this factory I worked in. I didn't have any experience in that, but they taught me those skills. And
but also, I think they must have seen something in you. I don't think that they would just
too.
throw it out to anybody,
I think so too.
So these skills that you acquired as a child, I'm sure helped build who you were as an individual. Can you give us an example of one thing that your mom did for you or told you that still sticks with you today?
Oh, sure. I mean, she always was highly supportive of whatever I tried to do. And I failed at some things along the way, I'm sure.
Right, as does everybody.
But the failure, I look at it today, failure is good because it makes you a little bit tougher.
Right.
It kind of brings you down to earth and lets you know that maybe I didn't do that right. I should have done a little planning or educated myself before I jumped into this, and maybe I wouldn't have failed at it.
Right.
But she was just a great influence in terms of work ethic. She had to go back to work, and she worked. And I thought, well, if she can do that to support the family, I can also help out. So I think the work ethic that I saw was critical in my own development. And I'll never forget when I was working in corporate America, and I announced that I was going to quit and leave Colorado, move to El Paso, buy into a business.
Right.
And this one guy that I highly respected in the corporation came up to me and he said, I knew you were going to do that. And I said, how did you know that? I said, I'm not so sure I knew. And he just said, I could see the entrepreneurial spirit in you, even here at the corporate level, that you were eventually going to do something like this. And I never looked back. I just thought, no, I know I can do this. And believe me, I didn't know everything.
Right.
I still don't know everything. And
of course.
I still believe.
We learn every day.
I agree.
We never stop learning.
I believe in lifelong learning. That's why the college is so great. There's a lot of opportunities to continue to learn here. And I think if most people will understand the fact that they need to have people around them that will support them. They also need to, whatever vision or idea they have, look into it. See if it's something that they really, truly are passionate about. And if they are, then get the help from people around you to make that come to fruition.
Yeah, one of the interesting things that I see in my students all the time is they quite often are very confused, right? They're young.
Yeah.
Most of them are young. Here at EPCC, we also have older students. We're very inclusive in many ways, but the young ones seem to have this blank stare in their face a lot of the times. And I ask myself, I'm like, why in the world do they feel that way? But a lot of times, I think to a certain degree, society doesn't give them that push that they need. Can you tell our audience anything that has impulsed you, anything that has allowed you to become who you are as an individual, as far as what you're doing today or in the business that you had?
Well, I look back at my own career, and I wouldn't want to start a probably a business today at my age, but if I was 40 years younger, I would definitely start a business. Don't know what that would be. And I think, those individuals that are maybe, kind of being dragged down, oh, you can't do that, you're going to fail at it,
Right.
Even at times it can be your parents,
Right.
I think.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to have a strong influence on you. And
I think they're looking out for you.
yes.
But a lot of times, we need that freedom. We need that ability to, fall and get back up again, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so sometimes they're doing that to help us, but sometimes it might not be the help that we need.
But going back to what I said a little earlier in terms of the negativity, I'm not advocating that anybody don't listen to their parents. I think having the strong family structure is critical.
Absolutely.
You need that backing. But if they're not too sure about it, you have to find ways to get believers around you as well that are willing to, mentors that will support you. They could be friends, they could be teachers, they could be somebody, a religious individual, a pastor of some sort. But I think until you can find out who you really are, and being in business will test your knowledge about everything.
I know.
And I just truly believe in following your dream. And you may not be able to do it immediately when you come up with that idea, but if it's in the back of your mind 15 years later, and you are at a position now where you have more self-confidence, go for it. But you need to surround yourself with those people that are going to support you through the process.
Absolutely, 100%. One of the things you just mentioned a little while ago is education.
Yes.
We are an institution of education. How important is it for everybody to get educated, and how can they use that to their advantage in whatever they're doing? Because I often hear a lot of students, it's like, why do I have to take art class?
Sure.
I want to be a scientist, or I want to be a biologist, or I want to be a beautician or something. How is this incorporated into what I'm trying to do? And I always tell them, this is to make you a much more well-rounded individual, because ultimately knowledge is power, right? The more you know, the better off you will be. Will you have all the answers?
Probably not.
Absolutely not. Ford, he is known to have said at some point that somebody came into his office and said, you may be the richest man, but you don't have all the answers. He's all, you're right, I don't have all the answers. But I have a box, which was his telecommunications. I have a box where I can press a button, and one of these people that I pay will have the answer for me. So it is true what you say, that you need to surround yourself with people who will inspire you, people that will help lift you up. One of the things my mom always said is, tell me who you hang out with, and I'll tell you who you are. So having said
that's a very good point.
Yeah, having said that, being in a learning institution, how important was it for you to get educated?
I think very important. If nothing else, and I don't remember a lot of the stuff I learned in college.
Sure.
A lot of it was theory.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, one of the things I did learn, I learned if you don't know something, ask the question. Ask the question of those people that can give you the answer. And I find it critically important, and you and I talked a little bit about art before.
Right.
I'm a lousy artist, to put it very bluntly.
But you're a creator nonetheless.
But I'm still a creator.
Right.
And when my business partner and I were in business, we were clothing manufacturers.
Right.
Well, we bought a license to manufacture men's big and tall clothing.
Oh, wow.
And
you can do that? Buy a license for that?
Well, yeah, we bought a license from the owner, and we started manufacturing big and tall clothing. Well, one of the sales guys came to me one day and said, this hot new look in shorts are cargo pants or cargo shorts. We need to come up with a cargo short.
For a big and tall market.
For big and tall market. So I sat down and I started drawing what I thought would be a good-looking cargo short. And of course, I had seen them around at different places and in stores, but I wanted to add maybe things that were a little different, not just to copy somebody else's design. So I started drawing it. I gave it to our pattern maker, and I said, come up with a short, and here's some basic stuff, and these are the measurements I think I want to shoot for here. We already had sets of measurements for big and tall clothing, and we were already making other shorts, but not cargo shorts. So came up with a pattern. We made samples. We tried them on some big and tall guys, and said, "That's it. We're going to go to market with this," and took the chance. And again, that goes back to creativity and even artistic stuff. I'm a lousy artist, but I took mechanical drawing when I was in high school, and so I was confident I could draw a straight line and put things in proportion.
Which are all elements of art.
And you kind of ignited that in me again when we talked the first time, and I said, art is important in life, probably for everybody.
100%
they just don't realize how they're applying it in their daily life.
That's exactly right. It doesn't have to be a painting. It doesn't have to be a sculpture. It could be the shorts that you're drawing. It could be the way that you dress. It could be the meal that you make. But when you allow this creativity to kind of flow through your energy, your blood, whatever you want to call it, then there's like this creative pattern that evolves within you that then allows you to think outside the box, that then allows these ideas to come in. So we're getting very short on time. Do you have any advice for our viewers as far as, getting a little bit more free with thinking, going out and getting educated, whatever you can tell us?
I just believe that, and I'm kind of repeating myself a little bit, but I like to write things down. If I have an idea, in fact, when I was in business, I used to sleep with a notepad and a pen or a pencil next at the nightstand.
Just in case?
Because I would wake up in the middle of the night with an idea and I would write it down.
Oh, wow.
Didn't always pursue it, but I knew if I didn't write it down, I'd forget it when I woke up.
True.
So I would say, plan. I'm a big planner. I believe in planning a lot of stuff. And my wife teases me about that. Like, you plan everything out to the nth degree. And I said, that's who I am. And I think planning can be good, but I also think it's no substitute for spontaneity on different things. I think you got to have a mixture of both. So, I would say people that your idea is a spontaneous thing, but to execute that, you have to plan to make it work.
Beautiful. Very well said. So how do people get a hold of you?
Well,
where do they call? What's your email? Where are you located?
All they need to do is call our center. Our phone number is 915-831-7742.
Okay.
Most likely if they call, they're going to talk to Angel.
Okay.
And just say, I'd like to set up an appointment to meet with a business advisor. I'm thinking about starting a business. And we'll come in, give them as much time as they want. We never charge for one-on-one business advising services.
Beautiful.
And we offer a lot of trainings as well. And as I always say, once a client for life.
Right.
People can come in as often as they want, as many times as they would like.
Beautiful. So, Joe, I wanted to thank you for taking the opportunity. You're only across the street here, but you took the opportunity to come over here and talk to us. You enlightened us in many ways.
Thanks, Miguel.
Absolutely, our pleasure. So I want to thank you guys for joining us again. Again, my name is Miguel Valenzuela, and please contact me. My email is mvalen31@epcc.edu, and we will see you next time.